Perek Daled. What page is that? This is Kilayim. That's Perek Zion. Go back to Perek Daled.
Valid.
582. Page 582, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay. Matnos Aniyim, Perek Daled. The first three parts we talked about Peah. Now we go on to Leket. Halacha Aleph. Ezel Leket. What exactly is Leket mean? They said leket is that which falls from the sickle, that special round-shaped knife that the person uses in order to harvest the grain. When the grain that falls out of that collection, when you collect it in that round thing, when you harvest it, that is leket. Alternatively, even if it doesn't fall from the sickle, if you use your hand to collect the bunch, you hold it together, and then when you want to cut it, you miss a few because it didn't get collected in the bundle. When they're down, that's also leket. So either way, it fell from the sickle, or it was missed by the sickle. That provides only one or two kernels. If, however, you missed, if three fell, or you missed three when you tried to cut this collection, yeah, two stalks. Thank you, stalks. Right, I'm sorry. Thank you.
There's many kernels on one stalk.
The Rambam starts off as like, what is leket, and this whole halach is a translation. Well, one word translation would probably be collection. Okay, if I could, but that's again. It's like if you want to translate what's the word geography translation. Okay. In the case if it's three stalks, thank you, stalks, yeah, then it's the balasa. That's not considered like it. If, however, it falls from behind the magal, not shot you tried to cut and it fell off, but you basically if it's you see there's a picture over here that demonstrates what he's referring to over here. That over here that when you're cutting it, it's not shot that you that you missed the collection. It's b'chlal. It's b'chlal not part of the collection. Yeah. So that is not called leket. Even if it's only one or one kernel or one stalk rather, any leket. So.
What is it? It's shishko or something else.
No, so it's not. It's you can take it. It belongs to the Baal Bayis. So. It fell because when you moved the sickle back, or you caused it to fall. It wasn't basically a blunder of the actual harvest process. It's considered a different blunder, and therefore it doesn't go in the category of leket.
And why 2 and 3?
That's just a kasuf.
Yeah.
Base, because if the whole thing falls, all of a sudden, that's yeah. What if you're harvesting without a knife, using by hand? And if the chiyad falls out of your hand. And leket is not considered leket because we're talking about a case where you normally what you use is a sickle. In this case, you're using your hand. That's not called leket. However, if you're pulling with by hand, something which you do normally harvest by hand, like carrots out of the ground, let's say. That's not like an example, but that's the principle. Yeah. Then if it does fall from your hand, it is leket. If you're cutting. Or pulling out by hand, something which normally you do pull out by hand. If so, it's a case where theoretically like it should apply. And then after you collected it already, or you pulled it out of it by hand, you hit a thorn and you dropped it. So it's not because of the normal process of things that fall when you collect. Something else external happened that caused you to drop it. In that case, that is Shobal Bayis. It's not for the poor people. It belongs to the owner. Remember, just let's recap. Leket, when you drop these kernels, the stalks, it belongs to the poor people. So if it's not leket, it belongs to the Baal Bayis. Okay, Gimel.
After you're cutting, all these poor people, now you take the same at the end of your field. They run through your whole field.
Oh, so when they can come, we'll see. That's another conversation. Yeah. Gimel. If you're harvesting your field and one of the stalks doesn't get cut, you cut everything around it. If the one stalk that wasn't cut is in a way that you could bend it and it would touch the part that's still standing, so you cut over here in the middle, let's say, or you cut over here in the round, merely you have this part, and this part could bend and touch the other part that wasn't cut yet. So in that case, it's considered connected. It belongs to the Baal Sod. It's not leket. If not, it belongs to the poor people. Now. So the fact that it wasn't cut, good. So we're talking about a case where it's one or two stalks only that wasn't cut. Yeah. So you missed it. So this is not considered shikha though. This is considered leket, and we'll see why in a second. If you have two, yeah, but normally you would say if you missed it, it's considered shikha. Here we're calling it leket. Why?
It's not, it's two, then it's not,
So no, again over here you cut let's say a patch of wheat, and you missed one. So if that one can still be bent and touched whatever wasn't cut yet, it's considered a continuation of the part of the field. It's not considered leket. It's not considered leket. It wasn't left behind. It wasn't dropped basically. Now if you have two grains, one opposite the other, one next to the other, the one that you left didn't cut could be still cut together with the part that's still standing. And the other one, which is next to that one, couldn't be, but it could be cut with the first one. So, but it can't be cut with the original, with the part that's still standing. So, the inner one is not considered leket, and therefore the one next to it is not considered leket. It's like a continuation. As long as you have a chain over here of standing stock that you didn't cut, each one could be cut with the other one. If in theory, all they count could have cut one at one time because it's 10 feet long. Let's say the whole train over here, but still each one is connected. That's considered like it fell from the magal. It's not shikha. Because over here you try to shikha, you forgot and push it. Here you tried to cut and you missed. So because each one is connected, the din is that it's considered. It's if it's far enough that you could not collect it together. It's leket because it's like it fell from the magal. But if it's close enough that it would be able to be cut as one time, it's not considered leket. So the point is, it's not considered shikha because you didn't forget it. If it's now the question is, what is it? Is it leket or is it not leket? Is it leket in the poor people or is it not leket in the balabais? So if the remaining stock which is standing, which you missed, could be cut with the whatever you didn't miss, which was still outstanding, then as long as you have a continuation train, it's like it fell. It's not like it fell from the magal. If it's not that close. Right, correct. If it's not that close, if there's a larger gap, so when I cut whatever is still standing, I can't cut the one I missed. It is considered like it's like it fell from the sickle. You didn't actually cut it. So what do you mean it fell from the sickle? It didn't touch it even. That's the right. It's like it fell in this context, like theoretically, if it was missed. Now, if you have stalks among the straw, they belong to the field owner, not the poor people, because you don't apply halakha to the halachos that whatever was not harvested. So you have standing straw. So, but mainly you have straw that's shibbolin. I guess in this case means that's you have stalks that don't have actual.
Shibbolin means that it has grain.
So in this case,
because if it's straw,
good.
Who wants it? Not the poor people, not the rich.
In other words,
in some of these
right. So you have standing stalks that are among the basically apparently you piled hay from the whatever was windowed already. And you have apparently stalks that are standing still, you didn't actually cut. So that is not considered leket. Leket applies it was harvested, and after harvesting it, you missed it or you dropped it. This case, B'chal wasn't considered harvested. Apparently, you have now the wind that it's scattered the sheaves around the field, and it's already cut. You have all of the field, little droppings from the harvest. That's leket. Now your grain, which is obviously yours, was now spread on top of it. How do you separate it? You make an evaluation. What is the amount of leket you can assume by average would come from such a field? You give that to the poor. The patient is honest. This isn't honest. There's no other way of doing it. The Kama shares that. What is the best? What is the best evaluation? A base core, which is 75,000 square amas, can produce 4 kavan of leket for poor people. That's the assumption. Good. Vav. Leket enough. The Chachamim sat. They made studies on this. They studied this. They studied these numbers, and that's the average. Leket enough. You have leket falls to the ground. Aniyim didn't collect it. Why didn't they collect it? They didn't have a chance yet. Let's say. If they didn't collect it, they're not interested in it, then it's not a problem. Here, the voters, they happen to not collect it yet. They didn't come yet. The same day it fell, yeah? And he goes now on top of this leket, he piled his grain heap, where he's not supposed to, obviously. So now it's all mixed together. Okay, so the way what you do, you clean, you move the entire pile of grain, the silo, to a different location, and any of the kernels that are touching the ground, all belong to Aniyim, even though it's a more than was the original amount. Why do you do this to the guy? What was the original leket? The suffix Matnos Aniyim. When you have a suffix of what goes to you to the Aniyim, you don't say Masechel Varaya. You say whatever the doubt is all for the Aniyim. Shemar Pasuk says Ta'aziv, leave it for them. Leave them from that which is yours. So this is Pasuk tells you don't go with the principle of Masechel Varaya. you have any situation of doubt of what's Aniyim, so it's not the Aniyim, give it all to them. Be generous.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, so over here, right, exactly. Over here we'll see why the Chum basically knast him in all situations. Yeah? Say, what could be the assumption what it was? Give it to them. 4 carbon, yeah. Because he transgressed and he piled his own grain on top of the leket, we knast him. Even if the leket was barley, he piled wheat there, so it's pretty easy to distinguish what's what. Even if you called him come, even if other people, his workers, let's say, that's not people obviously, but people who are allowed to be there, piled it, call on the greatest art and still we make a blanket rule. So I guess differentiate people who are shaking from amazing to pretend they're shaking. Whatever is touching the ground belongs to the poor people. Ches. A person has to fertilize his field before this is like his only chance to do it for whatever reason. This is the season, and the Aniyim haven't come yet. So can I fertilize the field before they come? And obviously I'm going to pile manure on the. He touches the rabbits over to fertilize. The rabbits could also mean to spread water over the field to settle the dust, I think. But either way, it's a problem because that's going to cause the grain to rot. So whatever, he's basically doing something to the leket over here. It's going to make it.
Here it says lahat.
Yeah, good. Okay. Good to find the point, but the point is that he spreads with water, so the dust should settle. Like upon the point is that he's going to be that the leket is going to be unedible, spoiled. So can he do that? If he refraining from not fertilizing his field or doing whatever the process is of spreading water, he's going to lose more than the leket would cost. What the lavish he's allowed to. See, he's not mechuyev to lose more than Aniyim. However, if his loss is not as much as leket would cost, or the total value of leket, also he's not allowed to. If in the case where he's allowed to, because his loss is bigger, he chooses to collect off the leket and leave it on the side for the Aniyim, that is a very pious thing to do. That's the right thing to do. Tess. So you have like ant holes or the holes of ants or other kind of bugs, and you find kernels in there. So who does it belong to? Is that leket or not? Huh? Right. So the question is, right. So if these holes were among the standing grain, the Aniyim don't have any of the thing which fell from the grain. The ants obviously took it and they put it in the hole. If it was the place where you already harvested, it belongs to the poor people. Because there's a good chance, it's possible that it came from that which was harvested and it fell from leket, and the ants took from leket and therefore belongs to the poor people. They can take it. The point is they don't have to, but it belongs to them. But the Baal is not allowed to touch it. That's the point. Now, Vayistais, ants can't make a kinyan. Okay. Oh, what if the kernels are black? So then maybe they're from last year. So we don't say from last year's crop. It's a suffix leket. It's a suffix because even though it's black, it could be it's this year's, but it's a bad quality. That's what. Good. You have now kernels of leket that got mixed into a grain pile. Let's say one stalk of leket. It got mixed in the grain pile. Now leket is not mechuyev meiser. Your grain is mechuyev meiser. So what do? Stop, take one grain and give it to the ani. Fine, it's aniyim, but there's a one kernel there's one kernel of grain or one stalk in your pile. That's not mechuyev meiser. So So
what? You already piled up. You already separated it.
No, you didn't separate it.
Leket is what fell on the ground.
Right.
Good. It fell on the ground, but instead of you letting the poor mistake, you picked it up and put it in your grain pile. That's what I do.
My mistake. What do you mean by
mistake?
No,
you're choloming. Yeah. You're collecting grain. One falls, you pick it up.
I accidentally put my hand in the tzedakah.
No. But here the let's say for example you pick up and put in the pile because you thought it was 3, but also it's only 2, but one of them looked like it was. Let's say whatever the heck is. You accidentally took a thing of leket, you put it in your own grain.
Well, so we're assuming that he collected the leket and he made a separate pile for it.
No. I'm piling. I'm harvesting my grain and piling it. And in this pile, I put one stalk, which is actually meant to be leket. So now there's one stalk.
I picked up this one.
One stalk is supposed to be leket. I put it in the pile which is mine.
So I'll take it off.
I know which one it is now. I know which one it is.
And I'll take off any. It has to be the same penny.
So a second. So we'll see.
Like my tzedakah has to be the same penny.
Yeah. Because this stalk is chayiv and my stalk is not.
No. What's chayiv ma'aseh is leket.
Leket is patur ma'aseh.
No, I'm saying what's chayiv ma'aseh is something that's not leket.
Good. So now in this whole pile I'm chayiv to ma'aseh. But there's one kernel in it that's not chayiv to ma'aseh. So let's see what the Rambam says. We'll see why he says it. You have to separate two kernels from the pile. And again, using stamas, I give one to the aniyim, but I didn't take ma'aser from it yet. I can't stamas give it to them.
Right.
I'm giving them the food, making them eat things without the ma'aser, not the trumas. Right? So, exactly, it's tevel. So if I separate two shibalos, and it says, he says in one of them. Yeah, I have two, one hand. If the one on my right hand is leket, so it's good. If any leket is not leket, ma'aser shehi chayavis behen. So then the mice that this one I have to separate is in this one. The master cannot. Then I take the second one. I say if this is the original leket, fine, it's good for the poor people. I don't have to take meiser. And if it's not, if it's a gift of mine which has to take meiser, so then the meiser is in this one, not the original one. A third one you have to say obviously because otherwise that would be a problem. That's what Farshim explained. The Rambam sounds like he's talking about two. There's really a third one. There's one third one that you're using as the base. But one goes to ani, and it's either it's a gift which was gemaiser, or it's the original leket. So either way, Shal Yisrael. And the other one I should consume as meiser and give it to a Levi or to take a dish line, depending which year it is. Yalef. I'm hiring Ruvain to cut my field. Here's the hourly wage or daily wage. Yeah. So when I hire a guy to work for me, and I'm saying I'm hiring you to work in my field or to harvest my field for me. Yeah. Here's the hourly wage I'm giving you, and the t'nai is you have the right to have your son follow you, and any leket he'll keep, and your son or anybody else you want to bring with you to basically make sure you get the leket, right? So that's a problem. You're not allowed to do that because then essentially we're assuming that I'm going to offer you the hourly wage based on this assumption that you're going to have your son or somebody else, whoever you want. Let's say your son is the best example behind you and collect you. But why is that? So here's the problem. Oh, no, but here's the bigger problem. We're not allowed to take from this on and give this on. You have to let them take themselves. If I'm hiring this guy to have his son collect after him, the assumption is I'm going to give him a wage a little bit less, and he's going to agree to it because his son is essentially going to be following him. So I am essentially actively taking him from this, the Aniyim of the Olam, giving to this guy. If he wants to on his own have a son come, any poor person can come. I'm not allowed to incentivize it by saying it's part of the contract. That's what the Amanas is the important word of here. And the Amanas says clear next in halacha. However, that's when I'm paying him an hourly wage. Arishin acharichin, one of them is essentially that uses charichais. Good. An aris and a charich are the same thing. The difference is the arrangement. So here's my field. You harvest it. You get a quarter. Or you get or whatever you harvest successfully. Because the truth is not just harvesting. Actually, they really they work the whole field, right? I am Yash in the grace of the field. I know nothing about farming. Hire a poor farmer. He harvests the field, and he gives me either percentage or a set amount, either a 10 quarter or 10%, however you want to work it out. One second. Or if I sell you, in this case, you're not farming the whole field. I farmed it. I'm selling you the crop. Here, you harvest the crop. And I'm selling it to you. They could have their son harvest after them because over there's no reason I'm going to change the agreement based on the fact that your son is harvesting. Here's 10%, or in the case of a farmer, for sure. When I make the original deal, you farm the field. I'm not going to change the terms and make it like a certain amount. I'm going to get a bit more because your son's going to collect a few kernels, not to. And even if I sell you it to the whole field, the whole harvest, again, there's no chashash. So therefore, over there, he could have his son harvest after him. It could be he could even tell him that he could make a t'nai. Now, like we said in the beginning of halacha, that you can't say it's a t'nai when you're hiring him. But if I hire you in a wage, I don't say anything. You want to have your wife or kids follow you when you're harvesting and collect the leket, that's fine. Even if when I say that the wage is not just the money, but actually the wheat. So, but still, as long as I don't say amanas, the din is you're allowed to have your kids and poor wife and kids follow you. Good.
Look at this one on you, right?
Yes.
Once you hire somebody and you're paying them a salary for that particular time period, he's always on it.
Depends. What's the amount of money you have to be not allowed to collect leket? There's a shear.
Right.
Could be he has no money. Could be he has chayvis. And every dollar I give him is right to the guy who owes money to.
Yeah, but the fact that your chayvis doesn't make you an oni. You're paying off your chayvis.
Whatever it is, but
oni means you have a certain amount of money.
Lavdafka. There's a very easy hechetimtza to make this guy is being paid $2 an hour to collect the harvest
what
the field.
He doing? He's bringing aniyim to his field to do labor and also to be.
There are people you could have a wage job and still be qualified to collect leket. It's not a stira. It's very possible.
Why?
Because this is
You get welfare.
because you have to have 200 Jews, I
You
think,
get
this
welfare
year.
in America.
Yeah.
You make
Yeah.
$20,000.
No.
That's not.
Got the stimulus
It's
back.
not a. It's not a.
It's not to do
It's not
with
a. It's not a
it.
kasha.
It's
It's not a kasha. It's
not
plenty
to
of
do with it.
hichatim. You can have somebody who's making one dinner a day and he doesn't have the 200 Jews yet. It's very easy. It's not a problem. You get your base.
Because he's not working. If he's not working for him, there's no salary in the real sense because he's still ani. If he's ani, then why are you telling him?
You can be an ani who's qualified to collect leket while you have a job. It's possible, as long as you don't have X amount of dollars. You base someone who's not let the aniyim collect, right? He puts a big electric fence around his field, or he says you collect, you can't, right? It depends on what kind of yarmulke you're wearing, yeah. Or he helps this guy over the. And that's why the previous halacha. Yud explains it out. That's why you can't make a tanai in the contract that you can't that I'm paying you this amount because your son collects for you. That's basically taking away from everyone else, giving it to him. You're not allowed to hire to have a lion crouch in the field. They should have aniyim run away. The same will apply to a wild dog. There's aniyim over there who they're poor, but they're not able to take like not that poor. Yeah. If you could protest. He should protest. If he can't protest, let them because there's no purpose to make a fight over this.
Even they might have.
Even they might have 200 Jews. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, whatever it is. Let's say.
Why don't we use Harez and Mitzvah?
Was heißt?
What does this mean? Dr. Shalom.
Because not mitzvah is ideally they shouldn't be collecting. If I'm letting them, that's not ideal. But we're saying that rather than stand up for what's right and chase them away, if you can't be macha, you don't have to hire people to chase them away. Just Dr. Shalom. Hamafkias aleket. What time is it? 9:05 or 9:00? Okay. Hamafkias aleket on the field by a person who so he when he's harvesting the field and the leket is falling in the process, he's mafkir it. So the case is where it's already majority of the leket has already fallen. Now, how do you define the majority? I'm not sure exactly what the cheshbon is, but what do you define? Once the majority of the field's leket has already fallen on the field, you can't be mafkir anymore. Once the majority of the leket of that field has fallen, it's now below the poor people. So apparently, before the rain falls, you have enough. Even though you're not allowed to take it, you have enough of a bias to be mafkir it. You can be mafkir it, and once you mafkir it, it belongs to anybody in the world. Even the richest person can take it. But that's only that's before the reiv. Okay, I'm not sure what the other reiv is exact. It's not clear. That's above. Ezo parrot. So that's adkan leket. Now we have parrot, which essentially is the same thing as leket, except that leket is grain, parrot is vineyards. So one or two great berries. That fall off the cluster while you're harvesting. Bitzir and katsir are the same thing. The different harvesting is different lashonis by depending on the product. If it's three, it's the same thing. And it's not parrot, you can take it. It belongs to the owner. Tezayin. If it's a person is cutting off a cluster, and now and how many grapes fell from the cluster? No grapes fell. But because of circumstances, your hand got caught in the leaves. The whole cluster fell to the ground, and now a whole bunch of not a whole bunch. Sorry, Dafka, one or two only. Let's say only one or two. Berries fell off the grapevine. It's not parrot because again, it's like the case where your hand hit the thorn. It's an external factor that caused the one or two grapes to fall off. It has to be a result of the harvest. Here, it's a result of your hand got caught in the leaves of the vine. If you're harvesting and you're throwing it down to the ground on purpose, so when you're harvesting you're harvesting the clusters of grapes, you're standing up on the ladder, harvesting the grapes, and you drop it to the ground, you're gonna collect them later. So when you go now later on, after you finish cutting down all the vines, you go down the ladder, you start picking up the clusters of grapes and you're putting them in the basket. Even if half of the eshkel has fallen off, which is obviously much more than three, we say the whole thing is considered parrot, even though it's much more than one or two clusters.
Right.
So I'm not sure. 1 second. If you have an entire cluster that falls off, it's also parrot. These words are just read in my parentheses. So by you, it's not in parentheses. Okay, so. Say again.
Same concept what we learned earlier.
Right. So the idea is when you pile your grain on the leket, we can ask you. We say that you have whatever touched the ground belongs to Aniyim. So here the same thing, right? The point is that whatever when you have leket and you intentionally instead of you pile your grapes, sorry, not like a pellet, you pile your grapes on the pellet. Anything which is not attached to the cluster, with cheshish is pellet, it goes to Aniyim. It's not eshkol shalom. I think doesn't mean that it's still attached to the vine. I can't mean that. It means that all the grapes fell off. Not attached. You have a big basket or a net under where you're harvesting the grapes, so that collects all the leket, all the pellet, and you keep that. You still have an aniyim. So, right, exactly. Right. So the point is that when you harvest the grapes, you're not supposed to let them fall to the ground. You put them in a separate container, so you should not mix the pellets with the other things that fall off. So if you do, again, we see Miknash goes all to the poor people.
Besides having the keli, there's no other method to do it. He has to cut and falls to the ground. Cut and falls to the ground.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not a grape farmer. So what's the practice? Yeah, what's the practice? I'm not sure the practice is. There's a way to do it. It's not going to happen. I guess I'm not sure. You have to have a separate basket with you. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Two people that collect.
Or you have to or another worker with you. Yeah. No, that's a good question. You have to ask a grape farmer. Where is Eiladus? Right? There's other thing you have to give to the poor people. So what does that mean? This is a small, not thick, right? Not move. I'll show you pictures in a second, right? So it's not thick. Doesn't have a shoulders, doesn't have drippings of grapes. It's all just a randomly haphazard. Let's look at the picture right now. Hang on a second. So here you have a normal healthy grape looks like this, right? You have the top, it's like an upside down triangle, like a pizza. Right. So you have the top part which is very thick, it's called the shoulders, and the bottom part which hangs down the center is called the drippings. So this has shoulder but no dripping on the bottom. This has drippings but no shoulder on top. And this is just random grapes. So this is a healthy cluster. Right. If it's not a healthy cluster, that has to go to the aniyim. So that's called eilus. Yeah. So here's like an actual photograph. So these the big part on top. It's not that's all. This is the top. The thick part on top is the shoulders. The bottom part is dripping. This part doesn't have any shoulder. So just the dripping part, not the wide part. So that's this is healthy. This is oilers. Yeah, exactly. Right. So that's oilers.
Because these little ones.
But that fell off. Here it's a full vine. It's attached. You have to cut the whole thing off, give it to the poor people. Yeah. It's not. It's considered like the inferior crop, and that goes to poor people. Yesh the cost of if it has the shoulder on top but doesn't have the dripping part. Yesh the cost if it has the dripping part but not the shoulder, which is what this picture over here on the white colored grapes are. Doesn't have a shoulder on top. It's not thick anywhere. It's thin. Looks like a tail. Like that's like the one on the left. So Harish about bias balakerem because it's
no. Because it doesn't have a kosef and a nut.
I'm sorry, thank you. So I said wrong. Right, I'm sorry. If it has only one or the other, it goes to balakerem. If it has to not have either, which means basically
it has to be these little pieces.
Right, the haphazard. So this one over here, this picture over here. Right, thank you. Yeah, this one over here. This is like that's the. It basically has like a just like a haphazard.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. This one over here on the far left.
Himself and running in fact.
Yeah. So.
What makes sense?
Yes, exactly. Right, exactly.
Because I had a big bunch of
in other words, the suffix. I think the suffix. Suffix means that looking at the cluster, you're trying to figure out what the shape is. Is it like Azor? It's not clear. Right, but some clusters are like insufficient. That's not clear. Yeah, exactly. Aniyim goes to Aniyim. Right, exactly. Yeah, fine. So Mefuzaris means it doesn't have it doesn't have either. It's not haphazard, like which is what that bottom left picture is. Yeah, exactly. It's chas to finish up. Okay, what exactly? What is the shoulder cost? It's the grapes that are top of each other on the top. Not if the drippings. It's the one that come down from the spine. This whole bachlal is only negaya if all the grapes can touch the palm of your hand. In other words, the small cluster is not big enough to prevent the grapes from touching the palm. So basically, it has to be that it's not that long. Why is it called Eilol? It's like a baby to an adult. You test. The Baal Bais is not to cut them, give them to Aniyim. They take them themselves, like pay sort of. The Gagri Yechidi, a single cluster. I'm sorry, a single
which means he has to leave him hanging
grape.
on the vine.
Yeah. Exactly. So one single grape could be considered an oil.
Same thing with the lucky.
Yeah. You have a cluster on branch of a vine, and there's like a underdeveloped cluster that's on an offshoot of the branch. If you cut it at one time, it belongs to the Baal Kerem. If not, it belongs to poor people. You have a whole vineyard, and all these gehakta vineyards. It belongs to the Aniyim. It says, your vineyard, don't be ma'ilil. Even if it's the whole thing like that. Only applies to a vineyard, not to other kinds of trees, even olive trees, only to grape vines. Aniyim not allowed to take the pet until the Baal Bais starts harvesting. They can't come along and take it themselves. It says when you harvest your vineyard, don't be ma'ilo. How much you have to harvest? One cluster. Once you harvest 3 clusters, and those 3 together could make a review of wine. That's exactly, yeah. You have to have watchmen. You have all kinds of scouts. There's a whole business. The mafia got involved probably. If you have a vineyard and you makdish it until you don't know what you didn't look at the illness. The illness don't because the hektish is hektish. If once you know what your illness, even though you did not start harvesting yet, but your hektish is irrelevant, and therefore they can take it. And the aniyim, they have to give hektish the difference of the growth time between when you makdish it, because the point is that the difference of what they grow. So in other words, even though they can only take it once you start harvesting, but it belongs to them once you know what the oils are. Therefore, once you know, you can't be makdish anymore. If you prune the oils after you know about them, you can. So you're pruning the harvest to improve the grapes, right? And you see the oils. And you're just pruning it because not that you want to keep the grapes really, although you're going to. It's really the purpose of improving the crop. So you could prune it as normal. You cut everything as regular, and it belongs to the Baal Bais because you're not really harvesting yet. Guy sells his vineyard to a Jew to harvest. He's chayav to leave the oilers. Yid and a guy were partners in the vineyard. The Yid in his portion is chayav in the oilers and pet. Ben Levi, you gave him ma'aser lev like you're supposed to, but you didn't take truma from it, which is your mistake. And what's about he finds the in the crop, and he gives the poor people, and it's not a problem of the fact there's no truma. If, however, they were harvested with the other clusters, he should be supposed to take the ma'aser from a separate location, not from over here, because it's too complicated to do from over here. Basically, someone has 5 vines. He harvests them and brings them home. If he did it in order to eat the grapes, he's potter from the parrot and shikha and from netter avoy, which is the ma'aser goes to Yerushalayim in the 4th year. But the oilers have to go to Aniyim. If he did in order to make wine out of it, chayav in everything, even the oilers, unless he left a portion of it unharvested.
So why is the first thing that he's not chayav? If you're going to take him to eat, is that a problem?
The Rambam is mechalek whether you. I'm asking the whole lumdus over here. Why is mechalek? So when you.
Rabbi, you can start 9 o'clock.
Whether you